Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Бүгд Найрамдах Чех улсын Элчин сайд ноён Jiri Brodsky оролцож байна.
Jiri Brodsky Бүгд Найрамдах Чех улсаас Монгол Улсад суугаа онц бөгөөд Бүрэн эрхт Элчин сайд. Jiri Brodsky Праг хотын худалдааны академи, Праг хотын Англи-Америкийн их сургуулийг урлагийн бакалавр, улс төрч социологч мэргэжлэр, Лондонгийн эдийн засаг улс төрийн сургуулийг Европ судлалаар шинжлэх ухааны магистр зэрэгтээ тус төгсжээ. Тэрээр Премьериа телевизийн хөндлөнгийн жүжигийн зохиолч, Праг бизнес журнал сэтгүүлийн судалгааны ажилтан, Прагийн эдийн засгийн дээд сургуулийн гадаад харилцаа олон нийтийн харилцааны проректорын туслах, ерөнхийлөгчийн хамгийн газарт НАТО, Европын холбооны гадаад харилцааны газрын аналитикч болон газрын орлогч дарга, хилцээний дарга, Бүгд Найрамдах Чех улсын гадаад харилцааны яам, Бүгд Найрамдах Чех улсаас дайны Бүгд Найрамдах улсад суугаа онц бөгөөд Бүрэн эрхт Элчин сайдаар тус ажиллаж байсан.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation. I was looking forward to this
Very
occasion.
much welcome, and in particular, I'm very happy to invite to the show you. You are representing a country that is very close to Mongolia, also to my family. I lived for 5 years with my daughter. First language is Czech. My wife speaks Czech, so very close. Like many other, maybe even several tens of thousands Mongolians to former Czechoslovakia, and with whom we have diplomatic relations 70 years ago, and we are celebrating big event this year. So let's talk about what have been done, what are today, what we can do better next time, etc. So please welcome, and let's start. If you brief us a bit what was happening during the diplomatic relations establishment.
Thank you. Thank you once again for your kind words. And of course, I'm aware of your personal relationship to my country. And really, it's an honor for me to carry the Czech flag in your beautiful country. And you say it right. It's been 70 years on the 25th of April when we were celebrating the establishment of diplomatic relations between our two countries. It was Czechoslovakia at the time, but of course, given the fact that the Czech Republic and Slovakia are successor states to Czechoslovakia, we do celebrate this event. We think that it should be celebrated, and there are many reasons to celebrate.
So it's a double celebration.
It is a double celebration. Slovakia is celebrating it as well, but they are covering Mongolia from Beijing, so the circumstances are quite different. But since 1950, really, our relations have been very intensive. You know that the Czech geologists got very involved in Mongolia soon after the establishment of the diplomatic relations. They contributed to the fact that the Erdenet mine, the depository of copper and molybden, was discovered in Erdenet. They also were involved in mapping of your deposits across the country.
That's something not everybody knows. Current Erdenet, which making substantial contribution to the economy, first was discovered as copper and molybdenum deposits by Czech scientists late 60s, right?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
that is correct. Also, Czechs were involved in constructing. There were hundreds of Czechs present in Mongolia at the time. They were involved in constructing important public buildings, like, for example, the first hospital in Ulaanbaatar, the building which is now the Council for Public Service, or cement factory in Darkhan, but they were involved, generally speaking, in the development and establishment of Darkhan city. They also built the building of a post office in Bayan Ulgi, so we were involved in the construction sector as well.
To especially also highlight, because it is, it's my town, and I've grown up, and this, we that time called Black Hospital.
Yes.
Black building. And actually, hospital number 1 was a new standard of buildings and kind of a new design you go inside, it was a different culture than the Soviet Union design. So we were always talking about that, with this hospital system, and I was very surprised when I was in Prague to see the similar approach, not to only hospital. So the concept is different, and also because mid-40s, Czech, that time, Republic was number 7 industrialized nation in the world.
That is correct, yes.
And one of the industrial center of Europe, right? So that's why this kind of replicated later on, somehow also in Mongolia, in those projects you are describing. Yes, you're right.
And we also were involved in creating the base, and a solid base, I should like to say, of the Mongolian shoe manufacturing industry, leather processing industry. And of course, at the time, because we both were Soviet satellites, so we were tasked to be friending with each other.
Economic integration, Union of Economic Integration. So
Indeed.
There was a different ideological set. But however, Mongolia were happy to get your designs, factories, and the current, unfortunately, shoe factory is not shoe factory anymore building, but what was the capacity of the shoes factory that time, if you remember?
I think it was that, honestly speaking.
3-4 times more than population capacity. So we were thinking, maybe then we are exporting the shoes.
Indeed, that was the intention.
Okay.
But given the fact that we were both Soviet satellites and we were therefore friending with each other more closely, Czechoslovakia at the time was your second biggest trade partner after the Soviet Union, constituting 6% of your foreign trade. And as a result, of course, many Czechoslovak products known in the world became synonymous for a particular product in Mongolia, be it Java, synonymous with motorcycle,
Java, yes.
Be it Tatra trucks, be it Batya shoes,
the bus,
the Karosa buses. Before that, it was Skoda buses.
Skoda bus. Karosa bus is the one buses, which was being at the time of replacement.
Ulan bus, yes, the so-called red buses.
Yes.
And also Skoda cars,
yes.
very, very much known in Mongolia. So there were many products and even the turbines for your power plants came from the then Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
So. And I should like to mention a very important aspect, I think one of the most important aspects of our relations, and these are interpersonal contacts, people-to-people contacts.
Yes.
Before 1990, more than 20,000 Mongolians studied in the then Czechoslovak universities. And that, of course, is a tremendous asset in the bilateral relations, because those people are still here. I call them also our ambassadors to Mongolia. They speak or have some knowledge of Czech language and Slovak language, and they make a great difference in the bilateral relations until this day. And there are many. I would not name them all.
Yeah, and this people's relations continues very successfully, even still. Do you know how many about thousands Mongolians live in Czech Republic today?
Yes, it's 10,000 Mongolian citizens living in the Czech Republic. It is it is the biggest Mongolian community in Europe.
Okay.
It is also given by the fact that the Czech government, the Czech economy, and we are speaking before COVID pandemic.
Yes.
The Czech economy was doing very well. It had the lowest unemployment rate in Europe. And of course, the other side of the same coin is the fact that Czech companies, as companies within textbook case of open market economy, export-oriented and export-dependent, were crying for labor force. And that is why the Czech government decided to create a special regime addressly hiring labor force from countries that are close to us, not necessarily geographically, but close to us in terms of history or civilizational space, etc. Language, or simply knowing and having relationship to our country, and also assimilating very well in the country. And in this respect, Mongolia is a great success story. We are very pleased to have Mongolian citizens living in the Czech Republic and making a great difference in more than 50 Czech companies as we speak. very much in agriculture sector, food processing sector, very much in automotive, and also in machinery production. So, and meat processing, of course, is your comparative advantage wherever you go. So we take advantage of that. So 1,200 Mongolian citizens are hired addressly by the Czech government each year. And this, of course, increases the Mongolian community in the Czech Republic.
Officially, 1,200 or so labor are exported from Mongolia to Czech Republic.
Every year.
Every year?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And the Czech embassy is processing the work permits in this respect, so it's a big agenda for us.
A particular qualification for that?
We are not really, but we are of course seeking qualified labor. But not only that, we are grateful to have Mongolian labor, which is qualified in sewing, in leather processing, in meat processing, and which is keen on working in the Czech Republic and getting some knowledge and specific expertise, because they will one day be coming back to Mongolia.
Do they have a particular terms to work
for
there?
2 years,
for
and it can be prolonged. It can be prolonged.
And prolong it again, or just once?
Yes, it can be prolonged.
Again and again?
Again and again.
Depending on the qualification?
That it remains to be seen, but so far, even the COVID crisis has increased the demand of Czech companies for labor force.
In that way, you can have also a lot Mongolians, in particular if Mongolians look for better jobs, of better salaries. And speaking about that, I'm just wondering, your country, one of few countries, European member, but you have own currency. And again, the most wondering point for me is, late 80s when I was living in your country, $1 was 23 or so crowns, and today it is almost at the same level. What happens? What is the secret of you people having that strong currency all the time?
I think it is the tradition of relatively conservative monetary policy in my country, dating back to the First Republic of Alois Rašín. The fact, also I should like to mention that the fact that really, I think that in economic terms, exchange rate, and I should like to add, flexible exchange rate is one of the most important economic variables. The fact that we have our own monetary policy, of course, and we can maneuver the exchange rate should it be necessary, is a tremendous asset in the economy.
Does it harm somehow substantially the currency reserve of your central bank in that way?
Not really. I mean, the fact that we have had, in the 90s, we had balanced budgets. That was the tradition established by the then Minister of Finance and Prime Minister Václav Klaus.
Yeah, who became president afterwards.
Exactly. Yes. Very responsible monetary policy and public finance policy. I think this base is one of the main reasons or one of the main answers to your question. And that is still there, of course. So the central bank wasn't pushed into printing out money or be flirting with the devaluation. And of course, with one exception, that it was the intervention in 2013.
What happened?
The bank worked with inflation targeting, and it felt the need to intervene into the exchange rate.
And what was inflation that time?
It was around 2%, if I'm not mistaken.
2%, yeah. And you say it's a problem.
Yeah.
Here we have, we are lucky if we have one digit, which means 9. And it's around now 7, 8, but you became a member of the European Union which year?
2004.
2004.
Yes.
And because you are a European member, you are obliged to have budget deficit less than 2% of GDP, right?
Yes, that is.
And you keep doing that. Less than 3. And you never exceeded.
Not so far. No, we have very responsible policy in this respect as well. So in theory, legally speaking, we are obliged to adopt euro as our currency, but in real terms, we are not in a hurry. This government is not going to do it, and despite we qualified with the criteria, as you rightfully mentioned.
Well, one of few countries of Eastern Bloc that time which had have access to the European Union, but not the euro.
Yes, that's correct.
Which somehow makes a different picture, more stable in realities today in the economy. What is the composition of your export? Probably it should be in the economy large to keep that balance, in particular strong course of currency.
Well, in answering that question, I would start with the very industrial base you described, which is still there in the country, and it dates further back than the 40s you mentioned. It's the First Republic, or before the First Republic, when we were part of Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yes.
The Czech land constituted 2/3 of that industrial base of that empire.
Okay, and just the European Empire.
That tradition is still in the country and very much present in our export and also in our Czech-Mongolian relations. The Mongolian companies know too well that Czechs can make great difference in bringing in Europe standard technologies and machinery and smart tech solutions, and that is the very vital part of our export.
On our economy as well, and we were used to receive all this equipment, cars, Tatras, buses. When you talked about the industrial base that helped you to keep your currency strong up to now, and the other reason is also open foreign direct investment.
Yes.
You allowed Germans to be with Skoda,
yes, that is
which became with the Skoda name, but Volkswagen, right?
Yes, Volkswagen family.
Tell us about this kind of attracting foreign direct investment.
Again, it was a success story. It was a very good decision as I see it. And Skoda Auto is a successful company, being present in the world, surviving the current COVID era very successfully.
By the way, that time Skoda was already better car in Eastern Europe. Yes. And then now with the Volkswagen, they are one of the competitive with the Golf, with other Volkswagen.
And it's still, what matters there is the Czech design, Czech expertise, Czech labor, and Mongolian labor, yes, by the way, in that company. And Skoda Auto, respectfully, is looking at Mongolia. It wants to come back. It has found a competent local partner, and we hope to see it soon.
We want to see their cars.
Yeah.
If you can mention any other similar foreign direct investment success story.
You mean in the Czech Republic?
Yes.
Well, there are many, for example, Korean success stories.
Okay.
And again, in automotive, we have Hyundai being produced in the Czech Republic. We are the biggest producer of cars and car equipment in Central Europe. We are the hub of automotive in Europe.
You have foreign banks?
Respects. Yes, we do have foreign banks, or respectively owners of Czech banks are abroad. And when there was this crisis, 2008 and 2009, it proved that Czech daughters to foreign mothers in banking sector were healthier. So there were many results. There were many reasons for that.
If you can say, what is total asset share of foreign banks? If
this is an estimate. I think it's 80%. Over 80% is foreigner.
Foreign.
Yes.
Okay, so 80% of your banking is owned by foreigners about.
Yes.
You have sold your brand name Skoda with the Skoda, but it's owned by Germans.
Yes.
And Koreans do Koreans. So the question...
Carossa buses, by the way, are owned by Iveco, Italian.
Carossa by Iveco.
Yes,
now question. For example, the Mongolians say that you are selling the country, foreigners coming, buying the names. Yes. What is the mood of ordinary Czech citizens, say, not only necessarily, all around the country, about that? Now banks owned by foreigners, car companies.
Well, our ambition with the transition to democracy and market economy was to open up, liberalize, deregulate, desubsidize the economy, and that it was connected with the fact that we were open to foreign investment also. So it was a success story for our country, and it brought in foreign capital, and it gave employment to the Czech people. It brought fresh ideas when it comes to doing things. So we are not in the complaining or crying mode in this respect.
That's one of the differences between us. And let's talk about...
But I should like to add, it's also given by our geographical location. Simply, we are in the very heart of Europe.
The very physical center of Europe.
It wasn't possible for us to be an island which would protect itself from anything foreigner, or which would close its borders and wouldn't wish to become a member of the European Union. This wasn't out of question.
Brno is still part of Czech Republic, right?
Yes, that is correct. Okay. Very important part.
Important part. Why important?
It's the second biggest town, and it's very cozy, intimate. There is a big university, and the city is very lively with business and with research, and it's very worth visiting.
Let's talk about the current trade situation, business between two countries, which is not that much rosy as it was before.
Yes.
So please describe what are now.
Thank you for mentioning this topic, because it's priority number one for the embassy I have the honor to manage, or lead, I should like to say. Really, if you consider the fact that we constituted 6% of your foreign trade before 1990, currently the trade volume is $19 million only. 19. So it's certainly not something about which I'm dancing in the streets of Ulaanbaatar. On the contrary, we must redouble our efforts. We are now focusing on developing trade relations. We are making an important transition from a period of time from 1996 until 2017, when we had Mongolia as priority country for our development cooperation, and we have realized important development projects in the country worth more than $50 million. It was 59 important projects in agriculture, forestry, water treatment, and many other energy, infrastructure development, etc.
So now you are involved.
And we are now making a transition from donor-recipient headline of the relations to two sovereign business partners, because we see it as a more long-term relationship. And if you look at the trade balance between our two countries from 2006 to 2019, so we are getting back to the good peak of 2012. Yes, but what matters for the embassy now is to bring these two lines closer together. That means also to inspire Mongolian import to the Czech Republic, because the Czech Republic really is your good friend in the European Union, and you can use it as a gateway for your products into the single market. And you taking advantage of GSP plus regime, that means importing 6,200 products customs free. And of course, another task for the embassy is to make this a trend, increasing trend of trade relations between our two countries. And when you mentioned hiring labor force, yes, it is important, but it is equally important to attract Czech investment to Mongolia and employing Mongolian people
locally. What kind of investments so far we have?
So far, the biggest investment is real estate developer Finep building blocks of flats in Erdenet. It's an investment worth of 150 billion Mongolian tugriks. They are going to build 1,650 flats in Erdenet. As we speak, they are already building. So they
1,600.
1,650 flats.
Okay.
So altogether 20 houses, 9 are finished. 55 new flats will be handed over this July. It's again a very good shopping window for Czech investment in the country.
It's kind of complex, where the shopping
exactly complex. It's called Euro-Eco Tugul, and I should also like to add that this company is making a good difference in Erdenet itself. It is reconstructing the main road. It has reconstructed the main road. It is developing the engineering network in the city. So it is a good story to tell.
It's good, interesting, and they may have also made the same road standard that is in Czech Republic, which is fantastic. So it is good standard for other road companies to make there. What else? What the other
and we are now discussing a big investment in the energy sector, and that is a complex solution of modernizing and bringing smart solutions into your energy grid. It relates to smart metering, and we are talking about an investment worth $70 million US dollars.
Smart
so
metering.
Basically more than 3 times of the current trade volume between our two countries, smart metering.
What's the total volume of this? The dollar terms was?
Investment,
yes.
70 million US dollars.
And what is that about?
It's about bringing smart meters to Mongolia, but not bringing them per se, but establishing a joint venture company here locally.
Measuring where, at which point of the supply chain?
It would be both central measurement and end measurement. That means that you would have smart meters in every radiator, basically, if I speak about the entire project.
It's heating.
Yes, heating, but also electricity.
I see.
Electricity.
Well, then that
electricity
makes,
is to start
it
with.
will help the system to be more efficient, because we are losing so much, not accounting, etc. Very interesting. What else we can do, and what stops us doing that?
Well, another aspect, another important flagship of our relations in trade is water treatment. We have a very good company, Czech company already registered in Mongolia called Hansa, which has realized many important...
Hansa,
yes.
Hansa is
yes,
a friend
Hansa
in Czech.
Exactly, it relates to that.
Okay.
And it has already realized tens of wastewater treatment plants across Mongolia. The most recent examples is a wastewater treatment plant for the international airport in Ulaanbaatar. Another one is the most modern wastewater treatment plant based on membrane system for Oyu-Tolgoi. So these are very good references. And you know that Czech companies contributed to the fact that 1/3 of Ulaanbaatar has drinkable water. So we want to follow up on the development cooperation projects we have realized and see a commercial follow-up to them.
There is a new Millennium Challenge account project is happening in Mongolia.
Yes.
If there is any connection with that?
Well, I will be talking to my American colleague in this respect, and certainly we can take advantage of what the Czech companies have done and how they could be involved in this big project. Yeah.
Well, one thing it was striking, even all the socialist system time, Czech system of irrigation, water purification, water management, waste management was always very efficient. And it was, causing even that time every Mongolian delegations, eyebrows rising. Whoa, how they can do that? So it was very efficient. I think it's a very good way. If there is any other aspects you think potentially we can develop further?
Well, we have something what we call at the ministry map of sectoral opportunities in the world.
Okay.
It's so voluminous that we already carry it on such USB.
Okay.
And it is sector opportunities for Czech companies in every country of the world. Yes.
Okay.
And when you look at Mongolia, you must put it into computer so that you can see it.
Chips, USB.
Yes, because it's very voluminous.
And that, well, it's a very good thing for our promotion of foreign direct investment.
Yes.
I was in charge of that organization once in a while, before 2000. And then, but this one is by each country that Czech, as a state, is potentially finds having a good future, right?
Yeah, that is correct. And when it comes to Mongolia,
yes,
the sectoral palette of opportunities is very, very wide and very convenient for the Czech competitive advantages. That is agriculture, mining, energy, water treatment, infrastructure development, including general aviation, construction industry, defense industry. You know that CZ weapons are well known with the Mongolian police and border protection and other units of your defense industry. Healthcare, very important sector. We have been involved since the establishment of the first hospital and since the reconstruction. Already 700 modern hospital beds have been delivered from a very important Czech company called Linet to Mongolia, and we want to continue in that.
Out of this, each of them very interesting. Can I ask a question about the general aviation? What do you mean?
Excellent sector where really Czech Republic is a superpower. We have been producing aircrafts for more than 100 years. We have a very competent Czech company building airports in the world. Anything from the biggest airport to modular airport, regional airport. So it is very interested in developing your regional airports and transforming them into international airports.
When you said modular airport, that means it can be extended by the increase of traffic, right?
Exactly, okay. And runway can be rolled out within a day, for example. So they offer very flexible key turn solutions.
Okay. Depending on flights, it can be extended.
Yes.
Okay. Last question about these planes. Yes. Do you have any commercially, I think, viable projects that Mongolia? It's a vast country, and I think I don't see future of Mongolia in the future. Cannot imagine without how we call it general aviation. The other planes used for other multi-purpose things. And particular emergency case, for example. Any thoughts, any starts there?
Yes, we already did a project together with the Civil Aviation Authority of Mongolia, focusing on system of pilot licensing, developing regional civil aviation, and also focusing on how to use efficiently the current international airport, which will soon not be an international airport, but could be used for training,
I'm glad that you are involved in that. Anyway, because the time is very short and so many things we want to talk, actually we have covered in a bigger picture some of them. And I think now 70 years. I think after 30 years, I think we will have been, somebody instead of us sitting will be talking, I think, quite different level of cooperation, and to that direction we started already. Good job. It's kind of a renewal of our start. I mean, 60s now, new one, 2020. Ambassador, you have been doing great jobs, and I know that you made also extension of your embassy comfortable for Mongolians, not standing outside in the cold street. Now more comfortable they come into and waiting, and well, your embassy building is a different story. I mean, this is, I think, it's you built it and you sold it, and now you are renting. So it's one of the very interesting, short-sighted, possibly decisions of a country that can do. Anyway, Ambassador, very interesting to talk, and I see this energy, enthusiasm, and really thank you very much for making these two nations again closer, and making for our Mongolians living in your country feeling more comfortable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And you say it right. If I was the ambassador when there were flirting with the selling of the building, it would have not
you
been
would not sell it.
Sold.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
За хүн төлөвчтэй өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Монгол улстай Европт одоо хамгийн томоохон түншинийг Чех улсын элчин сайд ноён ИЙРЖИ Brodsky оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.